Hello, good afternoon and welcome to round 8 of MotoGP as we move from the fast-flowing Tuscan hillsides of Mugello to the tight, twisted and nadgery Balaton Park here in Hungary. Just the second edition of our Hungarian Grand Prix at this venue, and it was a weekend dominated last year by the reigning world champion, the number 93, Marc Marquez, who told us yesterday to forget about any chance of winning, any chance of being on the podium, saying that if he's in the mix on Sunday, it's because his rivals are doing something wrong. Well, shock. We shouldn't have listened to Marc Marquez because he was fastest in FP1. The first time he's done that since we were last here, just under 12 months ago, signalling to everyone that Marc Marquez is a real contender this weekend. Yes, it was only one lap, but his rhythm, his pace did look just as strong as everybody else's, and it looks as though we've got a quite fascinating duel on our hands this weekend. It was Marquez and Acosta dueling for top spot throughout that session. They, of course, did finish first and second in this race 12 months ago, with Ralph Fernandez, of course, riding for his MotoGP career, doing a pretty impressive job to be up there in second as well. So we see the man fastest in FP1, Marc Marquez. A look across, a shake of the hand. Not bad, I think he's saying. It's Marc Marquez. Normally we would dive in and grab a word, but on this occasion we'll let him be. A slight look, a slight smirk from Marc Marquez in our direction, just to indicate that there's still a long way to go, but maybe, just maybe, the number 93 can be back to winning ways this weekend, or at least be in a position to fight for Grand Prix victory. Of course, the last time he did that, would you believe, testing my memory now, of course, won the World Championship in Japan and was able to take victory in Misano. The weekend before that, it's been quite the run for Marc Marquez without tasting Grand Prix success. Did take sprint victory in Brazil, which now when you reflect back and think about what he was having to go through at the start of the season with that radial nerve, the fact that he was able to take victory in Brazil in that sprint, even more phenomenal. So it's going to be one to keep an eye on this weekend. We saw a Marquez versus Acosta clash at the opening round of the year in Thailand. We saw a Marquez versus Acosta clash, not for victory, this time for the top 5 last time out in Mugello, and what a battle that was. I think we could well be treated once again to the future Ducati teammates going toe-to-toe, fighting for Grand Prix honours this weekend. And what a duel that would be for us all to watch and enjoy. We've stormed past the Trackhouse box, but let's head back in this direction. Not going to grab a word from anybody, unfortunately, because the man that we normally chat to down at Trackhouse, Davide Brivio, isn't going to be here until tomorrow morning. So hopefully we'll then, tomorrow morning, be able to get a word with Davide Brivio, not only about the success of Ralph Fernandez last time out, of course victorious in the sprint and all the emotion that came with that. It does seem as though that emotion fueled by the fact that seemingly he's on his way out, most probably of Trackhouse, but also as a result maybe of MotoGP. Ayagura was once again superb on Sunday afternoon, coming through from row 5 of the grid to take a stunning 4th. It could have been a podium though, it probably should have been a podium for Agura. Again, the big question comes down to, can he get his qualifying sorted? If Agura works out how to maximise a soft rear tyre, then he's going to put himself in a position to fight for victory. He, of course, at the moment, the only Aprilia rider in their roster to have yet tasted victory in either a sprint or a Grand Prix this year so far. Of course, Jorge Martin victorious of that Le Mans Grand Prix, Marco Bezzecchi winning 4 of our opening 7, and Ralph Fernandez victorious in the Mugello sprint last time out. You do think it is a matter of when, not if, Agura finally works it out and puts himself in a position to be able to fight for victory and then eventually take victory. Down at KTM though, this is another one of the stories We'll have to be keeping a close eye on this weekend. Acosta frustrated in Mugello, wasn't able to compete with the top guns, with the Aprilias, with the Ducatis. The top speed deficit was evident in Mugello as time and time again Marc Marquez blasted his way past him. But top speed's not really necessary around this Balaton Park circuit. The riders only using second, third and fourth gear once they're on a flying lap. Such is the tight and twisty nature of this track, just over 4 kilometres in length. So many quick changes of directions with the chicanes throughout the place. So it means it's a challenging one, but one where bike strengths and weaknesses don't really come to the forefront of what we see out on track. It's a circuit where we're pretty sure, like we saw last year, with 3 different manufacturers on the podium, one where the rider can really make the difference. And we know that Pedro, even yesterday when speaking to the media, saying, when asked rather cheekily, I think it was, when's that first win coming? Yes, I'm sure he doesn't need reminding of the fact that he's yet to taste victory on a Sunday in MotoGP. And he said, with a pretty abrupt answer to a pretty abrupt question, when I get a bike capable of winning, and right now that is not the case. However, potentially, as we said, the nature of this circuit allowing rider skill, rider talent to really carry a team towards victory. Could this be the venue where we finally see Pedro Acosta celebrating on the top step on Sunday afternoon? A long way to go, but we will definitely feel as though the number 37 will be in the mix. Right, before we leave you, let's run down some of the gossip in the paddock. Mainly down at what we understand to be the final 2 seats that were waiting to be occupied. Firstly, Trackhouse Aprilia. Does seem as though Enea Bastianini will be one of the Trackhouse Aprilia riders next year. That deal seemingly edging ever closer to being officially verified. Who his teammate is going to be is an extremely interesting one, as we see a certain Francesco Guidotti here, a man that may well be wearing Trackhouse colours himself from not even next year onwards, from potentially in a few weeks' time, if again the rumours are to be trusted. Yeah, the nature, or the identity, of Enea Bastianini's potential Trackhouse teammate for 2027. A few names linked, whether it be Jack Miller, Brad Binder in the mix, Ralph Fernandez seemingly is on his way out there, but results like he had on Saturday's Mugello Sprint will certainly help his case. And another name that was linked was the man currently leading the Moto2 World Championship, Manu Gonzalez, has done a pretty sensational job so far this year in Moto2. Brilliant victory in Barcelona, and then absolutely dominated the weekend in Mugello, in the end winning by just under 6 seconds, but he was so far clear of everybody else. It was a seriously impressive performance from Manu Gas, which has led to a lot of people, quite understandably, asking the question in the paddock, what more does he have to do to be linked with, to be offered the opportunity to move to MotoGP next year? The seat was taken away from him last year. The opportunity was potentially on the table, and then unfortunately that wasn't able to materialise, and he's gone out and done everything that you would ask of him this year. It does seem as though, despite some rumours linking him with preliminary talks with Trackhouse, that doesn't seem to be the case at all, and Manu's still on the outside looking in, seeing the likes of David Alonso is seemingly on his way to a factory Honda seat, Danny Holgado seemingly on his way to a Gresini Ducati seat, Ethan Guevara on his way to a Pramac Yamaha seat, maybe even the likes of Senna Agius, the Australian 20-year-old, seemingly in talks with the KTM Tech Trois concern about moving to ride there next year. Manu leading the World Championship, having beaten all of those rivals pretty handsomely over the past couple of weekends throughout the season, really. He's only finished outside of the top 2 once in our 7 GP. It's been 6 top 2 finishes, including those victories coming at the opening round in Thailand, then again in Barcelona, and then the most impressive of the three at Mugello last weekend. But for whatever reason, MotoGP teams just aren't interested in Manu Gas, and I personally am not sure that is particularly fair. Yes, his World Championship campaign ever so slightly fell away last year, and with a handsome points advantage, he allowed Diogo Moreira to get back into the mix and eventually take the championship away from him. But for a young man, he's learnt, he's developed, he's come out swinging this weekend. He hasn't allowed the disappointments of last year to affect the campaign that he's putting together this year. So Manu, again fastest in Moto2 this morning. The only thing he can do is go out and let his riding do the talking. And for the moment, that talking is turning into shouting and leading to many members of the media, myself included, to want to continue asking the question of what more does he have to do. It's certainly a difficult situation for Trackhouse, though. You've got one man already on the bike that's winning MotoGP races in Ralph Fernandez. Another one knocking on the door, of course, did try the bike at Aragon last year. A gift, Davide Brivio called it, to a man that was leading the World Championship at the time. But he impressed there. He was pretty good on debut, having tasted a MotoGP bike for the very first time. So there's still a lot to be uncovered, it seems, with that final Trackhouse seat. It's one of the more interesting ones, in particular with Davide Brivio moving across to Honda next year. It means that Brivio, a man stuck in the middle almost, with Francesco Guidotti, the rumoured man to be replacing him, maybe the man to come in and try and break that deadlock and try and find an answer to who is going to be the teammate to Enea Bastianini last year. As I get waved down in this direction, I'll see. Have we got a certain Pecco Bagnaia? I think we do. However, I don't want to be squeezing past all of these fans here. So, do you know what? I'm going to allow these Hungarian fans, in only our second ever visit to Balaton Park, the opportunity to get some signatures, get some autographs, get some selfies with the man back onto the podium last time out in Mugello. Of course, back-to-back podiums it is now for Pecco Bagnaia. I get the opportunity, quite fortunately, to chat with Pecco on a very regular basis. So I'm going to give him this Friday morning off, especially after all the emotion in Mugello last weekend. You feel as though this is a weekend where he'll want to try and just conserve his energy as much as possible, because there can be no doubting there was going to be an obvious emotional drain on Pecco, on Marco Bezzecchi, to have gone through what they did, to have celebrated like they did on Monday morning. I'm sure there were some pretty weary eyes. I've not heard too much about the celebrations, but they were absolutely right to go and enjoy their celebrations on Sunday after Mugello. So there we go, the final photos taking place by Pecco. We almost show this on a weekly basis, but it's great to show it, and great for you guys at home to just appreciate the time and the effort that Pecco so often puts in with the fans here. He's making sure that every single person queuing here gets the chance to have a photo with him. And I, for one, think that is great. One of the true greats when he was world champion. He was a great ambassador for the sport and continues to be one now. There we go, Pecco Bagnaia with the fans, as usual, being the gent that he is. And we see, I'll just quickly translate from Italian. We've got Guido Maida coming and chatting to him, asking a question. Contento, of course, that happy in Italian. My Italian isn't that bad. The conversation getting a little bit too deep now for me to understand, but I'm seeing a thumbs up. Good news for Pecco Bagnaia fans. We also saw a shake. It was okay. A wry smile from Marc Marquez. He's not getting carried away, but we can on his behalf. Fastest on Friday morning for the first time in nearly 12 months. Forget about it, he said yesterday. Well, maybe he was telling a small white lie. Looks as though Marc Marquez is well and truly in the game here at Balaton Park. Next time that I'll see you, same time, same place tomorrow, we'll have a much better idea just how much he is in the game. Stick with us tomorrow and we'll find out, and hopefully grab a word with him then. See you tomorrow.